Everybody come and catch the show. You want dad jokes, they got plenty of those. So relax and listen on as Dev and Kyle start the apocalypse.
So good every time.
Every single time. How you doing, Dev?
I'm doing. How about you?
I've been underdoing the fact that we have been on a life-invoked hiatus, but I am doing much better now, obviously, because I can see you.
That's so sweet.
I love this show.
I do too.
I have that in common with about 30 other people.
Since you can see me, you want to see what I did before we started recording? For the first time I've ever done in my life, not that I've played these that much, but the little water games.
Oh, yeah.
I beat it.
Those little carnival, that is, in fact...
I beat it.
Okay, so for those of you imagining this, Dev has the little push button. You, squirt that water around.
It's got the little rings.
Little rings, and he's got 9 rings on 3 pins.
Oh, there's more than that. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on this pin.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4 on this pin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on this pin. So that's.
I don't even know how
rings.
you would cheat at that and not still be impressive. Because in order to get those rings on those pins, even without pushing that little squirty button, you'd have to be twisting it around.
Oh yeah, this was all just holding it like this. And
sure.
See, even when you squirt, they will knock off. Oh, I just got it back on there. Bam.
Even when you squirt, they will knock off.
Even when you squirt, they will knock off. Oh, God.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this introduction this is a special episode, Dev.
Super special.
It is.
Our first inaugural guest.
Our first guest and our very first actual Patreon special. We're going to do a little upgrade for the Apocalyptos. So what you are about to hear is a little over an hour of, it was 2 hours that we spent on the line with our guest. Yeah. I thought that it was going to be a 15-minute end of the show, tag on. It went bananas Foster. This is crazy. If you are interested in hearing the entire unabridged 2+ hour version of today's show, head on over to our Patreon page, patreon.com/devandkyle. That's DEVAND Kyle, unlike the email address. And sign up as an Apocalypto over there. There's a couple of different tiers available. But when you do that, you'll be able to subscribe to a personalized RSS feed. And when you do that, you will have the main show content, obviously, in that feed, but also the full and unabridged version of that and other content as we put that content out. I think we're going to have some more in some upcoming episodes. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
So we have more interviews, more content, cool stuff. We're putting out a poll to see what you want to see from the show. If you are hearing this version and you are already an Apocalypto, first of all, thank you. You're a beautiful human being inside and out.
Greatly appreciate it.
But you may have missed an email. So if you are already subscribed, double head over to the Patreon page and find your RSS link so that you can get the whole show. Because this free version that you're about to hear is missing some great crypto info and some even better jokes.
Even better jokes.
The one
scripted jokes.
The one funny joke is in the unabridged version.
Yeah, the actually only funny joke in the entire episode is in the unabridged version. So if you want to laugh at all, you've got to pay for the.
You have to. This is
but it's worth it.
Dry library style content. This is a little experimental. I removed all of the humor from this episode.
Yeah. For the cost of a couple trips to Starbucks, you can go for the top tier if you want. Just think of it that way. Yeah.
Exactly. You want to learn more about us? You want us to learn more about you? It's fantastic.
Because we, like caffeine, are an addictive substance. Substance.
Easy for you to say. All right. Well, I mean, I think without any further ado, let's get into the episode.
Sid and crypto. Enjoy.
Bye-bye.
Have fun.
This segment brought to you by Sid. Enjoy an ice-cold Sid today. If there's any truer, I wouldn't know. Bubbly, flavorful Sid. Available almost nowhere. Unlucky dog.
We were just talking before we hit record, and we thought it would be a fantastic idea to hit record. Sid is our brand new friend that genuinely understands crypto in a way that I have never talked to someone who is educated and not a crazy person about it.
Not your definition of a crypto bro.
They either have no idea about how crypto works or what it is. That doesn't stop them from buying any of it, but they still have no idea how any of it works. Or they have given up on American money and they're living their life solely in Bitcoin, and they refuse to eat Domino's because Domino's won't accept Bitcoin for payment. Those are the two sides that I've never met someone until I met Sid who was willing to have a conversation where one of the answers could be, well, actually, US dollars is best for that application.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be wildly entertaining for folks to hear an actual nuanced take on crypto and cryptocurrency and NFTs and blockchain and all the pieces that fit into that.
Oh my God.
If you disagree with my opinion, this is going to be the rest of the show. So you can just fast forward to Chase's outro and enjoy it down the road. But
this is the crypto episode, huh?
Yeah, this is the crypto episode. Yeah. The first interview and the crypto interview with a seasoned crypto vet who has been through the bear markets, who's been through the bull markets. He knows his shit. I've seen it.
But before we get to the entire gobbledygook alphabet soup,
Gabagool.
I know this answer, but I feel like I rarely talk to people who know this answer. So why is a blockchain not just synonymous with Bitcoin? Like, why are they not exactly the same thing? Like, what is a blockchain, I guess, and then Bitcoin is built on that?
Well, blockchain is the technology that powers Bitcoin, right? So Bitcoin is obviously it's a cryptocurrency. They're all fungible tokens, right? But blockchain can be used by other tokens. So therefore, other tokens can use this technology, which is blockchain, right? That's why, I mean, they're synonymous.
My understanding of a blockchain is, I imagine like Ol Bob Cratchit in A Christmas Carol, sitting in that coal-fired office, writing in the ledger, debits in and debits out. And that was his whole job working for Scrooge, was just writing down things in that ledger, except that the blockchain is just that exact copy of that ledger on everybody's computer who's participating, so no one can cheat.
Yeah, yeah.
So
That's pretty much
$5
it.
from Dev to Sid
Is true.
gets recorded. No one has to trust each other because all million of us wrote it down in the same time period.
Yeah.
So tomorrow we go back and check and we say 999,000 of us think that Dev gave Sid $5 and one person is wrong. One computer is wrong. We all just gang up and we say, sorry, lone computer trying to cheat the system. Dev's computer, obviously, in this story, trying to get his $5 back from Sid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dev's computer gets outvoted and his $5 is gone. That's what a blockchain is. And a dollar or a transaction or whatever.
Information transfer.
Information happened from 1 to 2. A million rows in an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Like a Google Doc on steroids.
Yeah. A data ledger that everybody gets distributed. So there's no discrepancies. Everybody has the same ledger, same data, data set you're sharing, And
so you can use it for any data. It's just the
Any-
most.
yeah.
The most common, or the first one, was through transfer of value.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So in this case, when we talk about Bitcoin, when we talk about other coins, tokens, we are generally talking about them for the purposes of value / money. But you don't have to, right? Like I guess Walmart Canada uses a blockchain to track all their inventory, like where it is and freight to freight, and they stick a little like ledger entry on each pallet, and so there's like a GPS tracker, and all that goes into their blockchain. So it doesn't have to have anything to do with money.
Yeah.
It just is records from everywhere.
It's really just a way to make sure that whatever information that you are transmitting, right, is true and is accepted by everybody else that is participating in a network, right?
Right.
So even if it was like, I want to make sure that everybody knows and agrees that my name is Sid, right?
Yep.
So that anybody else can't call me Dev, because according to the blockchain, and I publish this on the blockchain, that my name is Sid, right? It's a weird concept to think about because, you know, if you're talking to regular people, right? If you're talking to one person, of course they wouldn't lie about their name, right? If you just met them. But how do you make sure that it's actually what their name is?
Yeah.
Right?
So before we even get into cryptocurrency, which, you know, is always the first topic, but I actually think it's more interesting to do this backwards, right?
Yeah.
So you used the word fungible a minute ago, which is common in the Bitcoin marketplace to talk about fungible. And then for those of you who have only heard the term NFT and not what it stands for, that stands for non-fungible token. So fungible is one of my favorite words because it sounds like it should be about mushrooms, but it's not. It's about money.
Fungible.
Fungible.
Yeah.
Fungiable was my mushroom dealer in college. Fungible is different. So fungible just means that one thing is exactly like another thing in its group.
Yes.
Right? So for a US American dollar, or for the major currency wherever you are, for listeners, by the way, Dev, I was just checking the stats today. One of our top 10 countries is Ukraine. And I just think that's awesome.
That is awesome.
That's insane.
Slava Ukraine.
Whatever your, Slava Ukraine. Hell yeah. So whatever your local currency is, if a stranger walked up to you on the street and said, hey, I have $1, would you exchange it for $1? You'd think that stranger was a little weird, but after you looked at it for a second, you'd think that they're basically exactly the same, and you'd take it. It's exactly the same value. Those currency values are fungible.
Yep.
But when we hear about non-fungible tokens, those two tokens, one is a picture of a monkey, and we'll get into that bubble market in a second, and one is a different picture of a monkey, and so you would not trade those pictures as dead set equal value all the time.
They're not necessarily of equal value.
Yeah.
Right.
And they can be.
distinguishable.
They can all be worth nothing. Sorry. A little low blow for the art market on NFTs.
It's completely, I mean, this is, if there's any place to have that conversation, it would be here, because, you know, we can argue the merits of like profile picture, like NFTs, but at the baseline of it is we're talking about the technology more so than
absolutely right. And that's a key thing, right? So the art market for NFTs is no more and no less fucked up than the art market for art.
Yeah, than real world function. Then it's real world counterpart. Yeah.
So real world, you try to buy a Picasso, like what is this Picasso worth? No idea. No one knows. People guess.
Whatever the market values it at.
Whatever people are buying, and rich people are laundering money through artists all the time. That is a different episode.
That's not a new phenomenon.
Yeah, exactly right. So listeners, if you've heard about $69 million digital tokens and you thought, oh, this whole house of cards must be stupid,
Wait till you hear about that.
Give us a second.
Yeah. Wait a second. You're not wrong.
Yeah, you're not wrong, but don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Because you said something really interesting a second ago, and that's actually where I hope government-backed blockchains start to go. Because in the same way that I can't hold a JPEG, that's what people say, like, oh, you own something you can't touch. I own my birth certificate, which is what you just said, right? I own my name. I was born here. This is my name. This is the day it happened. And every once in a while, I have to trot out that hard copy certificate to prove that that's actually true. A passport, a driver's license. But people think that it's so valuable that I should keep it secret and keep it in my safe deposit box and only bring it out 2 times every 5 years when I need to renew those things. But blockchain is the perfect methodology for me to just attach my digital blockchain birth certificate to my online passport renewal and be done with it.
Yeah, I think the weird part comes in for people who don't understand or who don't want to understand blockchain, right? Is the current information system or, the current real world like paper trail that you have just does not work with the internet age, right? We're living in an age where information can transmit instantaneously, right? And things can be copied to an infinite amount on the internet. So how do you verify the origins of anything in an environment where anything and everything can be copied, right? Blockchain comes in and says, the blockchain technology gives us the opportunity to prove, according to a common shared value, that the blockchain is truth. If you believe that the blockchain is impermeable, right, whichever blockchain you're participating in, right, then you can prove authenticity.
Yeah.
That's the biggest hurdle for a lot of people. Can't fathom because, I don't blame them, because everybody that grew up with the internet, right, they're all familiar with how you screenshot. They're all familiar with how you can misrepresent yourself on the internet, right? There hasn't really been any technology before blockchain or, smart contracts for that, in that regard. There hasn't been any technology besides those things that I just mentioned that kind of combated that, right, to an impermeable degree, right? That's the mental jump that a lot of people have yet to, make.
Yeah, everybody has this notion of when you throw out a possibility of what you can use as record on the blockchain, it's like, well, we already have that. Why would we need to do that again? It just seems like it's a redundancy. Well, you've got to think of how technology's evolved. We had great home phones. We had phones that you could walk around the house with. We didn't need cell phones. You could communicate perfectly fine and talk to people. And that was a said mode of communication. You had email, you had instant messenger. We didn't need to evolve to have FaceTime and text message that we use. Yeah.
Go. Say that again out loud. We did not need video calling.
We didn't need to, but it has become the common mode for communication. It's the standard. Either you're on it or you're left behind. Yeah, especially in the business world. In anything involving the economy, if you're not in that, you're left behind. This is the next step in that kind of realm of technology. It's the next wave that's going to change so many things that we do when it comes to record keeping, when it comes to finance. I mean, the applications are endless. Yeah, there might be some redundancies and things that we do really well right now that have been commonplace, but it's going to evolve. Whether you want it to or not, it's going to evolve. This is the next step.
Well, so Sid just said that. He said, when you think about internet technologies, people are very used to the screenshot, the copy, the dissemination. There's just absolute freedom of information. And there's not, crucially, there's not freedom of verification. You end up having access to all the information in the world, true or not, at your fingertips. And if you want to know who owns a house, who owns a car, where your birthday was, you don't use the internet. Like, there's Zillow, but Zillow is just databasing something that they didn't create. Mm-hmm. They are using local government records, right? Just like your birth certificate, just like the title to your car, just like your house. I can't put it in my pocket and say, oh, I own this house, the same way that I can with a $10 bill. But if you go downtown, you could rifle through some paperwork and prove you own this house. People are very familiar with that idea. They're just not used to mixing it with the internet. And that's that next step.
There hasn't been, like I said, there hasn't been, for them, right? There hasn't been a technology, right? The onboarding process to cryptocurrency is very difficult, right? Mm-hmm. I will not sit here and pretend that it's easy to, make that jump from, real world applications to, hey, how about you operate solely on the blockchain? It's just not, it's not an easy thing, right? Yep. And that's what makes me think that it's everybody that's getting into cryptocurrency right now, or have been in the past 5-10 years, whatever, right? It's still so early because there hasn't been a killer application, right? There hasn't been something that everybody knows how to do, right? Or a vast majority of the population knows how to do and can't live without. If you think about it, right? Smartphones, right? Dev brought it up, right? Smartphones and like screens on your phone, right? Was laughed out of the building.
Absolutely.
When Steve Jobs said that they're going to release the iPhone and it's not going to have any fucking buttons. Mm-hmm. Right? It's only going to have a screen. And now, 10 years, or a little over 10 years later, you cannot find anybody who's operating in the first world without a smartphone, right?
Again, for those members of the audience who don't remember this day, the launch of the iPhone and the launch of the iPhone's killer app, which is the actual life-changing situation, are separated by multiple years. And that's the App Store.
Yep.
The first and the second iPhone launched, there were no App Store. Nothing. And
there's no video, or there's no multimedia messaging.
Nope.
Yeah.
Can't send pictures, can't send video.
It was just a dumb phone with a big screen and no buttons.
Yep.
It was not a smartphone. Like, it kept your calendar. It had like the simplest PDA type smartphone, BlackBerry situation. It would send emails. It would send text messages. But it was just, what if there was no keyboard?
Yeah.
Now there's literally people who run their entire lives on their phone.
My wife is, so I live on the internet. My job is on the internet. Like, my day job is an internet job. I didn't just mean the podcasting job was on the internet. My wife, I constantly look at how she experiences the internet because I sort of consciously don't guide her. She is a phone first, maybe my iPad, an actual computer once every other week and only begrudgingly. Mm-hmm. Phone first.
Oh, yeah.
The only reason I say that is because, like, a lot of people back then couldn't fathom the idea of running your business on your phone.
Yeah.
Doing everything like online banking, right? Communicating with your loved ones, entertainment, right? Couldn't fathom that was going to be the source of everything. And if you told people in 2007, 2008 that that's where we were heading, right? No one would believe you.
No.
Right?
No.
And that is it's the same thing that I'm seeing with cryptocurrency.
Absolutely.
Obviously, there's going to be, it's an emerging market, right? So anybody that's listening right now that have their own anecdotal story about like their friend or themselves who lost everything because they got scammed out of a few $1,000s.
Yeah.
Right?
And those stories are very real and very common.
Yeah, of course.
Sadly.
That shit affects you. You know, if you're the person that shit happened to, I do not blame you for having certain disdain for cryptocurrency. But all that to say is that it is an emerging market, right? There are a lot of people who are going to try to take advantage of something that is new. It's kind of like a new language.
Oh, definitely.
Right? It's like a new language. Everybody is forced to learn a new language. Or I don't want to say everybody's forced to. There's a new language that is becoming popular.
Yep.
Right? Now, if you are able to speak and read and write in this language, you will be ahead in the innovations of the world.
Yes.
Right? More opportunities, experimental or life-changing, will be had through this language, right? But if you don't want to participate in learning to read and write or speak in that new language, right? Everything that you have, everything that you do is going to stay the same. Now, that could be a good thing for anybody, right? For anybody that's listening, that could be a good thing for you, or it could be a very bad thing for you, right?
Right.
But that's all it is to cryptocurrency, and a lot of the stuff that we're going to be talking about, or that you guys are going to be asking me about, is just it's a new form of it's a new technology that has potential to disrupt and change the way we do a lot of things, right? And that's why I love that example of the iPhone and the App Store, right? Blockchain technology is the iPhone, right? The App Store is Ethereum. Ethereum is a cryptocurrency, and that's a little segue into what I really want to talk about, which is
absolutely
Ethereum.
The up and coming, the self-proclaimed and anointed Bitcoin killer, Ethereum.
Well,
that is a misnomer if I've ever heard one.
That's what Dev is good for.
I'm just going off of the crypto bros that are on the Ethereum subreddit that circle jerk and tout it. Yeah. Ethereum to 10,000 by the end of the year. Yeah, I would love for that to happen, but keep smoking what you're smoking, bro.
Hey, listen, man, my bags are packed. You know what I mean?
Like, I'm ready.
I'm loaded
I'm
bro.
cool with it, but I don't think so.
To put that in perspective, right? Millions of people lost hundreds of millions of dollars on pets.com and all the other .coms circa 2001.
Absolutely.
That doesn't mean that e-commerce and chewy.com and amazon.com weren't actually the right idea.
Yeah.
It just wasn't quite done yet. The bottom of the market's going to fall out. Recessions come out of nowhere. Pro tip for anybody who's been alive less than 13 years. Recessions come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like on that note, so you just said Ethereum. We talked a little bit about blockchains. Bitcoins are built on the blockchain. Ethereum is another type of token. That's about the extent I understand of it.
Okay.
Take it away.
So Bitcoin was the first cryptocurrency and is the biggest cryptocurrency, right? They're all, but that's where it ends with Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is just straight up a transfer of value.
Yep.
Right. So just a giant online ledger that, I mean, I'm simplifying it quite a bit, but Bitcoin is very old in the cryptocurrency world.
Yes.
Yep.
Right. Bitcoin is running on blockchain technology. So there's a guy named Vitalik Buterin, right, that saw what Bitcoin did and dug a little bit deeper. He basically took the idea of blockchain technology and applied it into something not completely different, but something a little bit more useful than just transferring value, right?
I think of it like the experience that I have with it is that it does everything that Bitcoin does, which is to say it has these tokens. It has the stability that it has, which is not true for every other token because there's more than 5,000 types of tokens, right? So they come and go every day.
There's 13,400 something listed in CoinGecko right now.
And I've heard of 4.
It's
right?
ridiculous.
And
ridiculous.
And so my cheap understanding of Ethereum is Bitcoin only makes tokens, and by being first and being well explained, being stable, not making a lot of fuck ups to anything going on, being around the longest, people start to think of those tokens as having some value. We'll put the wild swings out to pasture for a second, but they hold some value. But that's it. That's all Bitcoin is one token. You can get a different token. You can buy more, but that's all that it does.
Yeah.
Ethereum has added features. I don't know what those features are. Take it away.
So the added feature is this thing called the Ethereum Virtual Machine, the EVM.
Okay.
Right? So if you know anything about coding or computer languages or anything like that, right? You would know what a virtual machine is when it comes to desktops, right?
Right.
You can essentially build applications on top of the Ethereum blockchain using the blockchain, right? The way it transfers information, right? So if you think about it like this, Bitcoin transfers a value of 5, right? Like just the number 5, right? Or the letter S or whatever it is, right? Just singular things, data.
A fixed piece of data.
Exactly, right? Just numbers, right? It says that 5 transfers to this other address, and now this other address has 10 because 5 got transferred to it.
Yep.
Right? That's what Bitcoin is. Very rudimentary, but very solid. Because you can't really fuck that up.
Yep.
Right? Ethereum, the EVM, changes it so that you can transfer lines of code in between the parentheses.
Okay.
So with Bitcoin, in the middle of the parentheses, right, there's only numbers, which represents value.
Yep.
Right? With Ethereum, with EVM, which gives me chills to this day, right, is that you can transfer value and lines of code. And the lines of code can be millions.
Yeah.
And it all processes just as fast or even faster than Bitcoin.
Okay.
So if you can imagine how many things, how many applications you can run on a serverless environment, which is what blockchain is, right? If you can make it so that it can run lines of code and transferred and distributed throughout the entire network of Ethereum, the applications, like Dev said, are fucking endless.
Endless. If anybody listening has ever watched Silicon Valley and what Pied Piper was doing with their dual
middle out, Dev. Middle out.
Yeah, middle out with if we had this on fucking video, you'd be able to see me doing 2 hands jacking off invisible dicks.
You didn't have to tell everyone. You had the opportunity to leave that a secret.
I had to. I've got to put it in people's vision. I want it to stay there and stain it like a coffee stain on a white t-shirt. Anyway, it's just like this is kind of real world application of doing that on a blockchain. I mean, and you're just sitting in code. Who gives a shit about code? Data is everything. Data is more valuable than any currency. It's more valuable than any raw mineral, any fossil fuel. Data is priceless.
It's extremely valuable.
But we put a value on it, though. And this is like the ultimate way to send, like Sid said, thousands and thousands of lines of code, application on application, run it on the blockchain, on a cloud server. Everything's going cloud-based.
Yeah.
That's the future. You're no longer going to need tons of computing power on your cell phone, on your desktop, on your tablet, on your gaming rig. It's all going to be cloud-based processing, cloud-based storage, and the blockchain is going to be where that all is going to be made possible, to where speeds and processing power and graphic power that we've never been able to comprehend 20 years ago would have been like, that's a pipe dream. We've hit apex right now. And we've still, I mean, things are progressing at a crazy, crazy rate. But this is going to take it to another one.
Mm-hmm.
So it strikes me, as I just learned, that literally what you just said is Ethereum adding an app store to a baseline currency on a blockchain. Mm-hmm. And we already talked about how fantastic it was to add an app store to an iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like that's not even a stretchy analogy. Like you literally put applications onto something that was already pretty cool, but not rocket sauce.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the thing that people miss. Like, that's the thing that people always like. They don't talk about that stuff when they talk about Ethereum, because a lot of people, when they think Ethereum, there's a high chance that they were introduced to Bitcoin first, right? Because Bitcoin's the most popular, which, I mean, you know, I understand, right? Mm-hmm. But the main thing that people should be thinking about and talking about is the fact that Ethereum has utility other than transfer of value.
Yes.
Ethereum, I mean, there's a lot of other cryptocurrencies that have iterated on the EVM, right, aiming to make it more, have more features, right? Because like the next line of question would be like, well, if Ethereum can do that with, you know, the baseline technology of Bitcoin, what stops any other cryptocurrency from, you know, doing that to Ethereum, adding more features that Ethereum doesn't have? Well, nothing is stopping other cryptocurrencies from trying to do that. As a matter of fact, every single crypto, if you look at the top 10 on CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap, I would say more than half of those cryptocurrencies, minus Bitcoin and Ethereum, right, have all launched from the EVM.
So you're not saying that they have taken the concept of the EVM and integrated it. You're saying that they literally planted their seeds on the EVM and sprang to life from the soil of Ethereum.
Exactly.
Wow.
Ethereum is the daddy and they're all its offspring.
Yeah.
So every single cool thing, not every single cool thing, but like a lot of cool things, right? The vast majority of cool things that are possible in cryptocurrency have all been made possible because of the EVM, because of Ethereum.
Well, I mean, so that's it too, right? Like, and it's not even Ethereum. Ethereum might be a winner. It might not be a winner. I was not aware until this moment that the other coins were literally growing from Ethereum. I thought they were just launching with the same ideas integrated in them.
I mean, in 2014 to 2014, all the way up to like 2016, 2017, there was the ICO mania, which is the initial coin offering, right? Which is basically everybody took shots at like, well, we think we have the better Bitcoin, right? Cross-border payments and all that, which is cool. You know, Stellar, XLM, and Ripple, XRP, they're still popular to this day, right? They're just not they're still very much focused on, in my opinion, and, you know, some people might, you know, hear this podcast and they are, you know, very knowledgeable about XRP or XLM, you know, but in my opinion, from an outsider looking in, because I'm not personally invested into those projects, they're still very much trying to solve a problem that Bitcoin already solved, just cross-border transfer value.
Yep.
Right? Which I don't think that that's the right way to compete with Bitcoin. You compete with Bitcoin by adding utility. Something that everybody, because like for the average person, they're never going to use Bitcoin as their currency, right? Cryptocurrency like Bitcoin will never be what the initial, you know, use for Bitcoin was, right? Which was just, you know, it's supposed to be a cash replacement, right? Digital currency. That's never going to be a thing for the average person. The Bitcoin price is too high.
But I'm going to jump in here. Hold on. I'm going to jump in here because the three of us are in a privileged spot with 330 million other people where we trust our banks and we have no reason to believe that those banks are going anywhere. But real world story, my company employs a lot, like potentially approaching triple digits of Ukrainian citizens who live in Ukraine. And shit went down on a Wednesday that had sort of been bubbling down, coming up. You know, Dev and I have talked about this on the podcast. It's some fucking crazy shit.
Just briefly?
I have no idea what percentage of those employees knew anything. I mean, they're all in tech, right? So there's a higher percentage than average that they knew something about cryptocurrency somewhere. We, as a company, straight up, while things are still, and this was, you know, during the darkest, right, first 30 days, the Bank of Ukraine, thankfully, has stayed on its feet and everything seems to be fine. But we had every single employee register I don't know if it was Bitcoin. We registered a cryptocurrency wallet. I don't know which one, with our HR department, and standing agreement that if it's payday and the Bank of Ukraine is down, we're going to deposit your entire paycheck into this cryptocurrency wallet instead.
That's nuts. I didn't even know that.
Yeah. And like, we never, thankfully, right? Thankfully, the world has gone in a direction where they never needed to do that. But 330 million people is not all 7.9 billion people on this planet. So when you talk about the cross-border payments and things like that, like the fundamental access from a pretty basic smartphone to be able to send and receive, even if you don't hang on to it, right? We all know there's all stories. The value disappeared. You went to bed with $10,000 and you woke up with $4,000. Like, that sucks. But those stories also happen to those same people in their like local government currency.
Yep. So
their opportunity to have their brother send them some cash from another country to get out of wherever they are, like, I don't want a predominantly Western audience, and let's be honest, that's Devin Kyle's sweet spot.
The majority, yes.
The majority. I don't want it to be lost on anybody that that's not a fucking killer application by itself to the world's unbanked population, which is, I think, like 70% of the world.
I mean, it's the last census that I saw, or stat that I saw, and we can fact check this later.
I'm not gonna.
It's
not doing it tonight.
The world's current unbanked population is sitting at around 1.7 billion people.
Okay,
right?
So lower than 70%, but still, like, that's 1.9 billion. I would take that much in cash, $1.9 billion. So that's a lot of people if it's a lot of dollars.
Yeah. I would say, though, that I think the stat that you were more referring to is the people who have access or who don't have access to financial products.
Oh, maybe maybe I'm combining those two. Yeah.
Because I think that's what it is. Because you can have a bank account but still be extremely limited in terms of what financial instruments you can use.
Yeah.
Right. To get ahead or to, do anything that is that we in the first world, right? In, in the United States even, right, take for granted.
So we touched a little bit on this and on power, right? A lot of people out there are correct in thinking that the world is fucking burning to death. And adding the future. So very good point that there's lots of banks and that those banks have the lights on all the time. And those banks have hundreds of millions of computers inside those banks. They're using up some amount of power. Okay. If you're going to have a new technology to at least compete, if not replace those banks, some people on the blockchain would say replace. I probably say it's probably compete, right? To the same you were saying.
I would say compete as well.
Compete.
Yeah, that's much more fair and reasonable.
But one would hope that your new upstart rookie competition would not be even 75% as bad. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but let's pretend that banks are 25% worse than Bitcoin. I read a statistic today that said Bitcoin uses as much power as Argentina. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but let's say that the banks use 125% of the power of Argentina. So why would I want the upstart technology to be power hungry on the front side? And maybe I don't want that. Maybe that's just sort of inherent. And can anything be done about that?
Well, I'm glad that you asked me this because, it segues perfectly into proof of stake.
Oh,
right?
yes, do tell.
Proof of Sid, is that what you said?
No, proof of stake. What is proof of stake? Well,
the next coming.
To explain what proof of stake is, first I need to draw a comparison between what the old world model is and what this new model is going to be.
Yeah.
Right? So in order to process transactions on blockchains, and any blockchain, the first and foremost technology was proof of work.
Okay.
Right? That's what Bitcoin is running on, and that's why it's so energy that's why it's so power hungry, because you need a bunch of computers, right, with powerful processors, right, processing transactions, in order to keep the blockchain going.
Because the only work that computers do is math, so it's just basically proof of math, right?
Exactly, proof of math, right?
Do numbers.
Now we have progressed. Cryptocurrency as a field, as an industry, has progressed to ditch that old model.
Okay, so that's old-fashioned, right? So Bitcoin, we talked about it. It's the big granddaddy. We would expect that it would be on old technology. So proof of work, proof of math, and burning down the forests of Brazil is outdated technology already in the nascent cryptocurrency industry.
Yes.
Okay,
Proof
cool.
of work is the coal-powered steam engine that was just nasty for the environment, took up a bunch of resources.
All right. I hope you made it this far into the interview, hippie listener at home, because we care about you.
It's old
and
hat.
You're on the bus right now. We know, listening to this show. We want you to know that crypto is probably not going to ruin the world.
Yeah.
No.
It won't. It definitely won't.
Okay.
There's too many smart people trying to make sure that it doesn't.
So what is proof of filet mignon?
So proof of stake is... first, with proof of work, what you have with a bunch of miners, right? They're called validators.
Okay.
Right? It's a consensus system, right? Mm-hmm. So what is consensus? Consensus is everybody agreeing to something.
Yeah, that's the 999 million people we were talking about before.
Right? That's consensus.
Dev gave you $5, and then he said, I never gave him that $5, but there wasn't consensus, and he got outvoted, and Sid keeps his $5.
Exactly. Right.
That's
so the way the consensus model for Bitcoin was proof of work.
Okay.
Right. So with proof of stake, the consensus model it transfers into the validators, right? Being able to process transactions or the blockchain is essentially going to listen to validators, right? That have the most amount of staked ether.
Okay.
Right. So, I mean, that might seem a little scary, because I know the question you're going to ask me.
Yep.
Right. How does, go ahead and ask me.
Okay. So stake, STAKE, my filet mignon joke aside, is you get under proof of stake. This is my understanding. I read 2 whole sentences before the show. I did that much research. Is if I have a big bag of money and I put it on the table and I let everybody see my big bag of money, we trust me more, right?
Sort of.
Okay. Because my question is, what prevents the richest guy in the world from putting the biggest bag of money on the table and then just cheating and taking everyone else's money and saying, well, I put the biggest bag of money on the table, so I validate them all and it all comes back to me?
Well, that's a good question, right? It's a big worry, right? How do you get rid of double spend if you can have somebody that can theoretically manipulate the market or manipulate the ledger, definitely. Right?
Because you only need, I read the Department of Defense report. You only need like 28% coordinated Bitcoin fake miners to like record erroneous entries on Bitcoin. Now, 28% of the power of Argentina is a lot, and so that's why you get away from that.
Well,
so that's why Bitcoin is still safe.
It is a little misleading though, because you need 51% to record. You need 51%. That's why 51%. A 51% attack is what's talked about in crypto a lot.
Okay.
Right. A 51% attack on a public ledger like Bitcoin is scary.
Because you would just win by popular vote and say that transaction never happened. We're 51% of the Bitcoin, and we all agree, even though it's fake.
All the validators, right? 51% of the validators. The blockchain is going to only include the popular vote.
Yep.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
So with proof of stake, it is very difficult to get all of that money in, right? To theoretically manipulate the blockchain, because even though you are the validator, right? Let's say you do have, $500 billion that you want to fuck with Ethereum.
Yeah.
Right. First of all, that's insane. Right?
So is there that much money out in Ethereum right now? Like, let's talk about Elon Musk money, right? That guy's a fucking crazy person. He tried to buy Twitter. He was just fucking around. 48 billion. He doesn't care. Yeah. Let's take Elon Musk's 48 billion that he was going to spend on a more useless technology than blockchain, Twitter.
Okay.
And instead, he's like, oh, just kidding. I'm going to buy Ethereum. Mm-hmm. And they say there's no such thing as you can't own Ethereum. And he says, watch me. Here's 48 billion proof of stake.
Well, the thing is with proof of stake, the only way you can manipulate. First of all, there's no way to really manipulate the ledger, right? You'll have veto. You have access to veto, right? You can veto transactions, but even that act in itself is very difficult to pull off, right? Because even if you had 51% of the network, right, and you try to veto a transaction, if the other 49% decide to fork the network, which is essentially copy the exact same network and start a new blockchain, which has happened before. Okay. Right? It happened with Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. Okay. Right? They had a difference. The developers had a difference in the way they wanted to go about Ethereum. Okay. One party wanted to make it only transactional, right?
Only Bitcoin.
Only Bitcoin, right? Yep. Only compete with Bitcoin versus the new Ethereum, which is let's make it a global fucking library. Yep. Right? Okay. Or let's make it a global supercomputer.
Yep.
Right?
So EVM was added from a fork.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Essentially.
Isn't there another scheduled fork coming up? Or
the merge.
The merge.
The merge into proof of stake. Because right now Ethereum is still running on proof of work.
Okay,
right?
so Ethereum is still using the old-fashioned coal technology, but it's on the schedule.
It's on
at some point to make a transaction.
September 19, baby. Let's fucking go.
All right.
Anyways,
we'll get this episode out before that, which is better than the rest of the episodes we've ever recorded.
So, it is very difficult to fuck with that ledger, right? Because even if you had 51% control of the current Ethereum network and the proof of stake models, and all of your wallets represent 51% of all the validators, right? You can the existing network, all of this is going to be public. Okay. So everybody will be able to see you coming to get them.
Okay. So if I come to proof of stake, I'm going to repeat that back to you. If I come to proof of stake, again, I'm Elon Musk. I got my 48 billion back from Twitter, never spent it. Mm-hmm. I put it in my Ethereum wallet, which is the term like where I hold my value. Mm-hmm. And then I stake it, I push it out, and I say, I'm going to hold this out there, and I want everyone to listen to me because I've got 48 billion votes. But what you're saying is that seeing all 48 billion of those votes coming from one wallet would make each of those votes actually less powerful because it's all done in public.
Yes. First of all, you would have to acquire 51% of all current existing Ethereum, which is held by a lot of people.
Okay.
Which is held by millions of people at this point.
Okay.
Right?
You have to get people to sell a lot.
You have to get people to sell a lot.
A lot.
Okay.
And then after that, you would have to convince all of the other validators to stay in the Ethereum network that you just hijacked.
Yep.
Right? And then you would have to get everybody else that you just bought out of Ethereum to buy it again at a higher price to participate in the network to earn you fees. Because the only way that you would make money being a validator in proof of stake is by collecting transaction fees. Otherwise, you just bought a bunch of nothing. You might as well have bought an NFT. You know what I'm saying? Like it's basically a $500 billion sabotage to yourself.
To yourself
by enriching everybody else.
Here's your NFT of a monkey jacking off.
So yes, it can happen. What's their stop? What is there anybody or anything stopping anybody from doing that? Barring the money,
personal self-interest. That's the only thing that I've heard you say is that the only reason you wouldn't do it is because actually it's a dumb idea. Which is my favorite way to economically prevent things from happening.
Yeah.
Because I think that everyone out there is a dumb. My personal opinion. This is economic theory from Kyle. I have my GED in economics from Google University. The best way to prevent people from doing things is to make it bad for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. The thing that I was going to say is that even if we get some sort of Joker type personality who just wants to see the world burn, right? You would have to get control of Ethereum by making everybody else rich, because you would have to buy out everybody else.
Yeah.
Okay. And then after they got bought out, the remaining 49% just
fork away from it.
Yeah.
And leave it to Crater, the original, the prior one. They put out a press release that says we've all gone to the new cool school.
Yeah.
And
then
those old
Ethereum
tokens
blockchain before the 51% attack would continue.
Yep.
And you have just destroyed your entire fortune.
Okay. So proof of stake is not just dollar voting.
No.
Proof of stake it's almost proving a normal amount of participation as defined by the others who are sort of with you, right? As long as everybody sort of normalizes their stake and nobody runs out ahead of the rest of the pack.
Which won't happen, because even though there is a 32 ETH minimum and maximum.
Mm-hmm. On what?
On the smart contract deployment. The proof of stake smart contract deployment. So in order to participate and have your own validator, right? In order to validate for Ethereum, right? Your wallet has to deposit 32 ETH into the ETH 2.0 smart contract deposit.
Okay.
Right?
But only exactly 32 Ethereum?
Only exactly 32.
Oh. So you can't even do a bag of money.
What I really wanted to highlight is the opportunity in which DeFi can change the life of the person who is unbanked.
Yeah.
Right?
1.9 billion people, by the way. Keep that in mind, listeners. Almost as many fans as we have on this podcast.
A huge chunk of the population.
A huge chunk of the population. Like, think about Africa.
Yeah.
Or like, the rural parts of the Philippines, which I'm from. All of these people don't know how to apply for a loan. They don't have credit cards. They don't have bank accounts, right? But I bet you they have fucking smartphones. That's essentially what the market is. That's what DeFi is targeting, right? Now there's a lot of functions in like financial services and products that are accessible in DeFi, right? But it all hinges on the technology that is layered upon the EVM, which is the smart contract, right? Smart contract is exactly what it sounds like, right? It's just one party saying they wanted, one party agreeing to another party, and you don't need a notary or a third party to legitimize that transaction or that contract.
Yeah.
It's all legitimized by the blockchain.
Right.
Yeah. So I think smart contracts are key, and we should close on those because they are probably the most powerful part of Ethereum. But I do want to say something again. You guys we were calling out Africa. We were calling out the rural parts of the Philippines. I broke my cardinal rule for the first time, listeners. I Googled something on the Dev and Kyle Start the Apocalypse podcast because I care about this.
That is a sign of the apocalypse. Holy shit.
5.4% of U.S. households in 2019 were unbanked. In the United States of America, 5.4% of households. So the reason why I care so much about this, I cut my teeth coming up through grocery stores. Grocery stores at their customer service counters have financial services that you can do without a bank. Check cashing, all that sort of stuff. Those loan stores, the predatory whole loan shit, the whole thing. I'm going to skip over all that. It's terrible. Next topic. There is nothing so expensive as being poor in America when it comes to not having a bank.
Yep. All
of the shit that I now, as a person with a job, just get for free from my bank. The next time you're in a grocery store, listeners, look up at that service board at the customer support counter for those check cashing services that you don't need, that you get for free on your smartphone from your bank. Check out how expensive those are for those folks. If that's not a reason to support smart contracts and mobile freedom for the unbanked. Like, grow a heart.
That's asking for a lot.
Just think about the efficiency that it'll bring. You know, when you don't need a central authority to make sure, or not even make sure, but to legitimize whatever transaction that you want. Think about how much faster things would go, right? And all of the fees that you would avoid, right? That's
Even
essentially
if the
what
fees stayed the same, as long as they were normalized for everybody.
exactly.
Because again, lots of people not paying for it, and lots of other people paying triple that.
Yeah.
Well, I guess triple nothing is nothing, but you get my point.
That's the biggest thing to smart contracts and blockchain in general. It's transparency, right?
Yeah.
You know, if you're paying certain things like for financial services, right? Like if you have no idea whether or not whatever rate that you're getting is competitive,
Right.
you have no idea, right? But with blockchain, because it is transparent, because it is a global public ledger, you know exactly what the other rates are going to be like, right? There, you know, protocols and other projects that provide these services to you are incentivized to tell you.
And everybody knows you know.
Yep.
So they, like, why would they send you 20% when it's only 4%?
Right.
They know you know.
Yeah.
And think of small businesses, how much they get nickeled and dimed on processing fees for credit cards. This, I mean, being able to process things on the blockchain is so much more economic for them. I mean, it saves them hundreds of thousands of dollars a year.
Awesome. Okay. So we've said it like 19 times. What the fuck is a smart contract, Sid?
That's not a dumb one.
It's not a dumb one. A smart contract is just, it's a way to, it's basically me and Dev agreeing to a product. It's a product or service exchange that only activates or only satisfies when both of us have done our parts.
Kinky.
Right? So, for example, if I needed Dev to play basketball for 5 hours and I'll pay him like $100 an hour, right? For my own entertainment.
Sign me up. Shit.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Dev, how do I make sure that you're actually going to play basketball for 5 hours? And Dev, how does he make sure that I will actually pay him?
Cash money
Right.
up front, homie.
The $500.
Yeah.
Right? But
Yeah.
we're separated by oceans, right? Or we're separated by location,
Ooh.
right? We're doing it through the internet. How do we do that?
So this is Dev's Basketball OnlyFans.
Yeah, basketball OnlyFans.
I'm loving the plot thickening in this.
This is fucking insane. You can't make this shit up. So Dev has a fucking basketball OnlyFans.
I am that good. I'm like white Michael Jordan.
How do you make sure that transaction between us happens without an OnlyFans website dictating whether or not somebody gets paid?
Yeah, because basketball is against the terms of service. So you can't even get
or
that.
whatever.
Yeah.
Right? A smart contract just ensures that both parties get satisfied.
So how would that happen? Like, let's do this. So this idea of Dev doing this basketball thing, that's the real world.
Mm-hmm.
So how does a smart contract get into the real world? Because it's pretty easy for me to imagine the parentheses of an app, and you've got Ethereum, and that's already digital.
Mm-hmm.
And you do the equivalent of putting the 500 cash on the park bench in front of them, like we would on the playground as kids.
Yeah.
But you just put it into the contract.
Well, maybe this isn't the greatest example, because real world actions just doesn't translate very well in blockchain, right? So,
But okay,
a better example would be like if Dev needed to, or if I needed Dev to, put data entry or some shit like that,
But so the other thing, but we could have Dev upload 5 hours of video,
Or
and
that
add and add me to the contract, and Dev uploads the video. That is his part of the contract.
Yeah, as
And
long
then
as
my
that is
contract
satisfied.
is watching it and calling it basketball. Click. Then your money that's already in the contract, we could set that up because it's digital. We can do all those pieces, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the smart contract, is it a program? Is that right? Or is it a blockchain?
It's a program inside the blockchain. Yeah,
It's a program. Okay. And it just waits for input.
it's a program. Yeah, so it's remember the EVM, you can fit any amount of lines of code, right? So you can write a certain logic that only when X is satisfied will X transfer or will Y transfer.
Yep.
That's the simplest form of smart contract.
Okay. So if X do Y, and the Y is paying people, and
X would be the service or the whatever else.
And the Y wouldn't. What if you didn't have any money when like what if you spent all your money before dev was done? Like, would you need to put the money in
and like an escrow
before it executed?
So that's the feature of the smart contract. The smart contract will not acknowledge the existence of Y unless all of Y is deposited into the smart contract.
So you do have to put your $500 on the metaphorical park bench, and leave it there the whole time.
Yes. So it would be, sort of like held in digital escrow.
Yep. Yeah.
Something.
And
like
then
that.
Can you? I guess maybe this is different per contract because we're saying these are just arbitrary programs, but you could have the contract be cancelable or not, or only last for 30 days. And if dev doesn't get off his ass and play basketball, you get your money back. Any of those are possible because it's just code. We can do whatever we want.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. The main draw to smart contracts is that you don't need a third party to verify.
If it's a digital thing, right? In our basketball example, that still needs a verified physical somehow to do it. But if it's all digital, which everything is nowadays,
you would need a third party. You would only need the Ethereum blockchain to be running.
Over the last hour and a half, Sid, that you've convinced me that is shaky at best. Sarcasm.
I mean, it is. There are concerns with Ethereum being halted because of validators in proof of stake, right? That is a legitimate concern, right? But like I said, a lot of things have to go wrong for that to even happen. A lot of people would have to act out of self-sabotage for something like a halt to happen on Ethereum. Ethereum is the largest blockchain outside of Bitcoin. Okay. And if we quantify it by network participants, Ethereum dwarfs every other blockchain by orders of magnitude.
When you say network participants, you mean people who are somehow transacting in Ethereum.
Yeah. Bitcoin is just bigger because there's more money in Bitcoin.
Because Bitcoin itself is currently worth more.
Yeah. And there's just more money inside of that is controlled inside the Bitcoin network.
And there's a finite amount, right?
Yeah. But the fact that there is utility in Ethereum, that means more people are using it. You can't use Bitcoin. Bitcoin is just something that you store value in.
I heard the analogy that Bitcoin is like just digital gold. You can't really go buy a sandwich with gold, and you can't really go buy a sandwich with Bitcoin.
Right.
Yeah. But you don't buy a cup of coffee with Bitcoin. You buy a house with Bitcoin.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or you buy like a business or property or something big, right? Yep. With Ethereum, it's a much more nuanced conversation, as we've just had.
You use Bitcoin to buy the deed to my house, which is an NFT that I transfer to your wallet.
Yeah. On one, that's kind of a goofy example, but the more I hear about smart contracts, and the more time that I've wasted in my 30s sitting in a title escrow office buying houses, I really would like there to be an NFT for every house, and then it could just get transferred to me and I not have to do a bunch of paperwork.
That is a product that is already in play.
Yeah, all of these different systems, like we talked about birth certificates, we talked about houses, those are all actually ripe for an NFT.
Yeah.
Not fungible. My house is different than your house. And ownership of my house doesn't have anything to do. I would trade for your house straight up because I've seen the Grotto, but most people wouldn't. And so anything that's unique to you, anything that's unique,
you can tokenize.
Anything that's unique that doesn't fit in your pocket to prove that you own it and carry it around with you, like your car and your house and anything else like that, /maybe should, depends on the object, have an NFT associated with it and make it easy to prove to somebody else that this is totally verified.
Yeah. A good model would be like, if let's say you own a bunch of properties, right? And the way you prove ownership was through NFTs, right? You have an NFT of each, like let's say you have 3 houses, right? And you want to rent out all 3 of them, right? And you have a smart contract developer write a contract that says the only way you, or the only way that you would collect rent is through paying cryptocurrency like USDC or USDT to these NFTs. So if you're a renter, right, and you have a bunch of crypto or you have a bunch of USDC, right, the only way you pay rent is through depositing, like with your phone, send however much, let's say your rent is $2,000.
Yep.
Right? Send $2,000 in USDC to this address every month.
Yep.
Boom. Like that's just one stupid person's fucking like business model. Imagine what these fucking people who are smart contract developers who are, building entire, franchises and all these things that are getting built on top of, all these smart contract platforms.
But again, like a lot of this seems like it's pretty cool for people who own stuff. That's not everybody, right? So on the flip side of that, sometimes it's a real pain in the ass as a renter to prove that you own that you live somewhere. Like you have a water bill or something else like that. And in those places where all utilities are included, you have no proof that you live there. You have no, city services are unavailable to you. A library card is tough to get if you can't prove where you live.
Driver's license.
Yeah.
With a valid address. Tough to get if you don't have anything that is a bill that comes in your name. That's a utility or something like that. And
so the other flip side of that smart contract, that I'm living in your house, Sid, and I'm sending you those stable coins, you're supplying to me a 30-day license to say that I live there, or a 12-month license, because we've written an entire year's smart contract that I can just shine to anybody who cares. Kyle totally lives here. He's up to date on his, this contract is happy.
That license could even be in the form of an NFT that burns in 30 days if you don't pay the USDC equivalent of rent.
Yeah. And you could have driver's license, passports on NFTs and hook those up. So you move to a different state or just to a different address in your city. You need to get new license. Well, now you got this NFT of your new address. You just link it. You don't have to go and deal with all the hassle. It simplifies the whole process. Everything's verifiable because it's on a shared distributed ledger. It makes the process so much easier. It saves on power, on clerical issues. It's a no-brainer.
It would eliminate a fuck ton of DMVs.
Yes.
And to bookend this with our eliminating the DMV is what we should all aspire to. To bookend this, I will give you the best use for art-based, JPEG-based NFTs. And that's to clean up the internet, to make it a better place for all of us to live. And that is, I'm going to give this away for free because I'm not going to code it. Sid, if you want to code it, I will delete this part from the end of the episode.
Okay.
If you're a woman who has received an unsolicited dick pic,
okay,
you can send the picture in with the name of the man who sent it to them, and then it will publish that NFT with the man's name attached on the blockchain. And then we will send an immediate bill to that same man with a sale price where he can then purchase it and burn it.
See, that would work, but the record of it burning is still going to be on the blockchain.
So you could go look in the trash and find the dick?
Yeah, you could see if you're proficient in Etherscan, which is what you would use to explore the blockchain, right? You'll still be able to see that this NFT was burned on this date.
Can we remove? We can't remove the owner's name. We can't do some sort of weird scrubbing to it.
First of all, you would have to be able to attach ownership to that NFT, right? Other than an address.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying we'll We'll just like burn
Inside,
the
like-
name
like
on
on
the
the thing?
JPEG. Yeah, it'll just have the name on it. It'll be part of the picture, I guess. So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
I
I
guess
guess-
if you can see the picture.
No, well, there's very few like actual NFTs or actual images hosted on the Ethereum blockchain,
Mhm.
right? The biggest argument against NFTs thus far has been that, you know, the NFTs, the images themselves aren't
Yeah.
actually hosted on
Mm,
the Ethereum blockchain. They're hosted on a third party like IPFS or something like that.
okay.
And the metadata is what's recorded on the blockchain, right? Which makes
Okay.
it unique, right? So that's one of the biggest like arguments against NFTs, that you don't actually own the
Well,
image.
so this would actually work better then, because then we would sell the NFT,
Mhm.
and then we would then delete the data, right?
Yeah.
So the data is hosted third party. We would actually delete that picture.
Yeah.
As soon as and we would just do smart contracts.
Yeah.
So all the pictures will be hosted on our third party storage, and the owner of the NFT can submit to the smart contract associated with that image.
Mhm.
And when you push the NFT into the smart contract, it's just one party.
Yeah.
You push it in, and it'll burn the token, but that's just the metadata, which can go. You find it in a trash can. But we will also delete the actual image, and then that image itself won't be on the blockchain. I think this is a killer idea. I am
think
going
it
to
is
delete
too.
this part of
Yeah.
the episode.
I think it is.
It's wholesome. It's brilliant, and it's wholesome in a revengeful way.
We just
I
spread
love
it around, and then what we'll do is we'll advertise the image section on in AARP,
Yeah.
so that like dudes' moms will be out there looking to see
Like,
if their
"That's
boy
my
is
boy."
misbehaving on the internet.
Yeah. That'd
You
be a
gotta get
great
'em.
fucking. Oh man, that would clean up so much fucking horse shit on the internet, dude.
Yeah, because
And
if
you
you're
could
a dude
advertise
listening
it.
to the show and you don't think that women are going through it on the internet,
Yeah,
they are.
advertise it in women's bathrooms at bars.
Yes. Yep. They advertise the service to women in bathrooms at bars, and then advertise the dick gallery in the AARP magazine.
There we go.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Bam.
Find out if your boy's been misbehaving.
We just made the world a better place, boys.
Yeah.
Dude, we just, instead of starting the apocalypse, we actually we saved it.
We saved it.
Which somehow will start the apocalypse.
Well, I have been thoroughly educated, which normally I've been thoroughly entertained.
Mhm.
But this time I've been thoroughly educated.
Both.
And I really
Well,
appreciate you
Ellis does.
coming by the show, Sid.
Absolutely,
Yes.
anytime.
Thank you so much, Sid. It was a pleasure.
You turned our short little interview segment into a whole episode because I couldn't put you down.
I mean, the thing
Can't
is,
put you safe.
guys, like that's even though we just spent how many hours, like an hour and 48 minutes talking
Yep.
about Ethereum, that's literally just
Scratch.
a little smidge of what cryptocurrency, like a lot of other cryptocurrencies are out there. The amount of projects that I could talk to you about in cryptocurrency are insane.
If
We just- Go ahead.
If you would like to have Sid back for future episodes, email us at devandkylesta@gmail.com. He'll come back anytime. We'll make a smart contract out of it. We'll force him to come back.
Oh no!
It'll
we go.
be great.
Can't say no to a smart contract.
True.
Very true. All right. Well,
Is that
I am.
is that the show?
I'm going to play us out. You ready for this, Sid?
Play us out.
Sure.
Yeah.
Dev and Kyle Start the Apocalypse is brought to you every other week with a full archive available at devandkyle.com. The Apocalypse theme and other music in the show is written and performed by Chase Noseworthy. He's Chase Noseworthy on YouTube or at NoseworthyChase on Twitter. All graphic design for Dev and Kyle Start the Apocalypse has been created by Dead Vision. Find her work on Twitter and Insta at XDADOTTER and book her immense talents at xdadotter.com. Audio engineering provided by Cassandra Umsong. She can make you sound even better than Dev and Kyle because you'll provide much better raw materials. Get in touch with her on Twitter at coffeewithcoom. That's coffee with COUM. Dev and Kyle support artists and creatives of all types. Exposure is for film. Artists need compensation. If you're interested in becoming an Apocalypto to help keep supporting all of the artists who make Dev and Kyle sound passably professional, please consider becoming a sustaining patron at patreon.com/devandkyle. Show notes, transcripts, and any other information from this episode should be available at devandkyle.com if Dev and or Kyle did their job. Fingers crossed. Finally, deeply and sincerely, Dev and Kyle think that you are a wonderful person who deserves love and compassion. We hope our small gift of what we consider interesting or entertaining has made your day even the tiniest bit better. Thank you for liking or subscribing in your favorite podcast app. And if you think others may want to know about this show, consider leaving a review in that same podcast app. It really helps us spread the word. Thank you.